Hello and welcome to the new series of Drishti IAS. I am Pooja Divedi, and in this segment today we are going to discuss about heat dome. This topic is important from the perspective of prelims and also from the perspective of GS mains papers. So let's begin with the topics of discussion that we are going to look at step by step. First of all, of course, we are going to talk about why is it in the news. Then we will discuss about what is heat dome, the concept of it. Then we will discuss about heat dome and Death Valley and the causes and impacts. Causes will be discussed as we progress and impacts will be discussed as in another segment. We will also talk about climate change and heat dome. We will also discuss about, of course, conclusion. And in the last of the segment, I am going to ask you a mains-based question for answer writing practice. So let's begin with why is it in the news. Now, the US states of Washington, Oregon, and British Columbia state of Canada, these states have been experiencing scorching heat since the last couple of weeks, and a dozen of people have died because of that. So why is this happening? What is this instance exactly? This is an instance of heat dome. What is heat dome? Let's look at it. As according to this map, you can see the areas which are scorched by the process of heat dome and why people are dying. According to this map, you can see the states experiencing very severe and intense and the magnitude of the heat dome. That is not a problem. Heat dome is something that in the past the US Death Valley has also experienced, but the severity, the magnitude and the intensity is at a record high. And if one's body, such as in the US and Canada, if they are not conditioned because of the environment they have since the last many years, they are used to a particular climate. But all of a sudden, if heat domes occur, they are supposed to be dehydrated. They are supposed to be having heat strokes, and that is why people are dying. Moving on, let's look at this area. Now, as you can see here, historic heat dome, most intense on record. And this is, as you can see, this is the jet stream, right? What is a jet stream? Jet streams are geostrophic, horizontally flowing winds from west to east. And they form because of the formation of two different pressure gradients. And because of that, jet stream is normally formed. Okay. Certain points that you need to keep in mind. It's geostrophic. It flows from west to east. And it forms at an altitude of 20,000 to 50,000 altitude feet. And if we talk about the formation of the jet stream, it depends upon the meeting of the two different fronts of winds. And because it forms at 20 degrees latitude towards the poles, jet stream is actually wreaking havoc right now. So how is it possible? First, we need to understand according to the definition. According to National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration of the US Department of Commerce, a heat dome occurs when the atmosphere traps hot ocean air like a lid or a cap. So, some things to be noted down here are, it occurs when the atmosphere traps. It traps the hot ocean air like a lid or a cap. We will have a diagrammatic explanation of this as we move forward, and the phenomenon begins when there is a strong change or gradient in ocean temperatures. As you can see with the help of this diagram, look at this diagram, and here it is saying that, of course, heat input to the ocean comes here, heating through the sun, and the heat gets lost from the ocean through the process of convection, right? Through the process of convection. And when, because of convection, the heat goes up, from the next diagram we will understand how it gets trapped. Here, as you can see, the high pressure air, this is the high pressure air, the lighter blue color, this is the high pressure air. It acts as a lid, alright? And then because of the movement, upward movement of the hot air, jet stream is already flowing from west to east. You remember? Jet stream is flowing from west to east. As the air is trying to escape this, it is going to flow east with the jet stream. But what does jet stream do? It pushes the air back to the ground, and that is why when the air is coming down, because of this the air is getting heat up again, and this causes the heat dome. Alright, so let's move on and talk about Death Valley. What is Death Valley? Death Valley is the lowest point in Northern America. It is found in the southeastern region of California. And last year also, heat dome effect caused this area to have a temperature of 54 degree, approximately 54 degree Celsius, because of heat dome only. Alright, and before that, in the year 1913, I'm going to write it down for you. In the year 1913, the temperature was recorded at a 56 degrees Celsius high. So, as you can see, in the past few years, heat dome is not a problem for America in Death Valley, but it is causing the urban population, places such as British Columbia, places such as Oregon and Washington, to bear the brunt of it because of climate change. Moving on, let's look at the impacts. According to the World Health Organization, it exacerbates pre-existing health conditions, especially respiratory issues and heart conditions, and also kidney disorders. If we are going to talk about the immediate impacts are impacts such as heat cramps, heat strokes, and dehydration, and that is why people are dying. Also, it has a severe impact on agriculture and forest. On agriculture, it makes the crops die because of excess heat, and also the proliferation of many types of crop disease. In the terms of forests, it gives rise to wildfires, and of course, which wreaks havoc on the flora and fauna. Also, it affects infrastructure, such as it strains the power grid, causes the wires of the power to contract and expand, and that is why it happens. It also can ground planes, melt roads, and cause the issues of vehicle to overheat to dangerous heights, which is of course lethal. Moving on, let's talk about climate change and heat dome. Whatever we are witnessing right now is of course exacerbated and aggravated by intense climate change. As oceans are the reservoir to sequester carbon dioxide, and because of that, the ocean gets heated up. If greenhouse gas emissions were not there, this wouldn't be happening at this intensity. Because of the climate change, there is an average rise of 3 degrees to 5 degrees in the level of ocean temperature, and that is why this is being so intense, the heat dome. So, moving on, let's talk about the greenhouse gases. In places such as developed countries, we can see carbon dioxide from fossil fuels, of course, and industrial processes. Because of this, of course, more and more carbon dioxide is getting into the atmosphere, and more is getting into the, of course, oceans, and that is why we are witnessing it. From other forestry and other land uses as well, carbon dioxide is a very dangerous greenhouse gas. Also, methane, nitrous oxide. So, these are the culprits right now. And who are generating these? Us, humans. Moving on, let's look at the conclusion. Conclusion in the sense, a way forward, what should we do? We should have concerted and consistent approach in policy making. In policies and in treaties such as Paris Agreement, in sustainable development agreements, we must take into account the heat budget of the earth as well, the heat waves as well. If policymakers do not take it, because heat waves are the harbinger of many diseases, These are the harbinger of death and loss of crops and lives and livestock. We need to take heat waves and particularly heat dome into our policy making process. Also, sustainable cities, in the sense we cannot just go and make all the trees go down. We can't do consistent felling of trees and deforestation to build a residential area, because it will give rise to urban heat island effect. We should take into account the environmental, if also along with economical and social infrastructure. That is why we need to have regional development as well, which is balanced in nature, in the sense we cannot have a whole group of people living there, because the resources such as land, such as roads, such as the environmental assets as well, they will have a very high pressure on them. We will try to develop many other regions, providing social, economical, and many sorts of opportunities for people to live in all these areas, so that it does not give rise to a heat dome process and also urban heat island effect. All right. So that's it for today. Now let's move on to the mains based question. Look at this question and try to answer it. Okay. What is a heat dome? Is there any similarity between a heat dome and urban island effect? So I hope you'll be able to practice it. That's it for today. Tomorrow we shall meet again with another segment. Until then, stay updated and thank you so much for watching.